I am getting everything ready. It's a lot of things. Okay. Okay, sorry, I'm just having trouble pulling up my agenda. Sometimes I have that network problem. And there it is. Okay, so welcome everyone. We'll call the meeting to order. The first item is approval of the agenda. Can I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Neal, seconded by Councillor Hutchison. Thank you. Great. Any dissenting votes? Or actually, I'll call the vote, I guess, but all right. All those in favor? It's been a while. Okay, thanks. Opposed? Carries. Thank you. Next is confirmation of our minutes from the May 25th meeting. Oh, Madam Clerk, go ahead.
I apologize, Madam Chair, if maybe I looked away at the right or at the wrong time. I just didn't see your hand for the vote, so yeah. Maybe I missed that. I just wanted to remind you if you hadn't voted to please make sure you do as well. Thanks.
Yes, for sure. Yes. So I am voting in favor of the agenda. Thank you. Next, confirmation of minutes. So minutes from the May 25th meeting. Can I have a mover to approve those minutes, please? Moved by Councillor Stanek, seconded by Councillor Hutchison. All those in favor? Opposed? Carries. Thank you very much. Okay, next, are there any disclosures of potential pecuniary interest? Okay, we're not seeing any. That's great. All right, so it looks like we have no delegations and we have no briefings. Madam Clerk, I'm not sure if you'd like to speak to, are there any members of the public in attendance, just so we can be aware?
Madam Chair, there are no members of the public in attendance at this time.
Okay, thanks. All right, so we have a few items of business this evening. We will be looking for appointments to the Kingston Frontenac Housing Corporation Board, the Municipal Accessible Advisory Committee, and the Rural Advisory Committee. So we'll begin with the Kingston Frontenac Housing Corporation Board. We're looking for 2 appointments, and I know I was trying to clarify something there earlier, but Councillor Neal, if you had any further questions regarding applicants for that committee, now is a good time. Looks a little bit frozen. Okay, if anyone else has any questions, I guess we can start with that. Okay. He's gone. I don't know if I don't think we have quorum anymore.
We will just give them a few minutes to make sure that there's a connection issue.
Sure.
We are reaching out to Councillor Neal now.
Sorry, I'm back. I was cut out again.
Welcome back. Yeah, I just wanted to see if there were any questions regarding applicants. We're first dealing with the Kingston Frontenac Housing Corporation Board membership. I know there had been some questions. Is everybody okay with the list that is in front of us that we will be selecting from? Okay, so that's sort of the bulk of the applications that we're reviewing this evening. And we have, so Madam Clerk, if you can assist here, we have 23, there's one that came in after the deadline. I believe there was one that was sent to us by email separately.
With regards to the one that was sent by email, that was from Mr. Bob Godkin. He had submitted an application, but I guess it was not, it didn't have as much information. So one of the members of the committee had asked for the application that the applicant submitted previously when he was appointed to KFHC. So it's not an additional application to consider. It was just additional information with respect to an existing applicant.
Okay, great. I may also need your advice at this point. I know perhaps other members of the committee will be weighing in here too. So the next thing to determine is that we have 23 listed for KFHC, but not that many actually put that as their first preference. So I don't know if we want to review that before we do our short list, as far as, sort of kind of creating, going with a short list based on committee preference, first of all, or how anyone would like to proceed there. That's it's not something I've dealt with before. So I'm looking also to the past chair, Councillor Hutchison, if he has any ideas. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not of any help because it's been done both ways. So I would also point out that we have to decide whether we're including the late application number 2. And that has been done both ways too, so.
Okay. Okay, well then I will maybe just turn it over for discussion to the committee at this point, and people can speak to whether they will be supporting, if they're interested in supporting someone who has indicated something other than first preference for this committee. And also, if you could also speak to your ideas about inclusion of the late applicant, then that would be great. So we'll just have like an initial go around. How's that? And then we'll get to our short list for this one. Okay. Does anyone want to go ahead, Councillor New?
Thank you. I'm somebody who's a procrastinator, and I've suffered all my life for that. So, but unless somebody, and I've read them all, even the late one, unless there's an overwhelming strength, I've usually gone with the idea that we don't need to accept late ones. For that reason. So, and I have a tendency to give a little bit of premium for people who this is their first choice. So that's already baked in my in the ones that I've selected.
Great. Okay, good. Councillor Hutchison.
Okay, good. I think it's been a preference of individual councillors if they want to do that or not. I look down and I see there's 2 positions. I picked one, which is a 1, and I'm open to persuasion, of course, but in one that's a 2. And I think you just put it before other people and those aside. I think we just press ahead and see what the short list or the initial list looks like. We'll be fine.
Thank you. Councillor Sanik?
Yeah, that's right. I feel like a deadline is a deadline, and we have like lots of other people, so that person can submit for the next available vacancy.
So just considering all of that input, and I think, also doing a bit of due process here, we'll read through the names and do our votes for an initial round here. And some people have already indicated that they may be deciding against someone who's applied late or who put the committee as their second choice, but we'll each have our own, we'll be able to weigh in on that as we go through this. Since there's only 23 for this one, I think we can do that pretty efficiently. Madam Clerk, can you help with going through for the initial round here?
Certainly can.
Okay.
I'll begin reading the names. Mark.
Oh, wait, sorry, 1 sec. Sorry. Yeah, just so everybody is aware, we have 2 spots that we need to fill this evening. So that's what we'll be doing. As we go through the names, you have 2 votes. Thanks. Sorry about that, Madam Clerk.
Not a problem. Okay, our first name is Mark Asperg. I see 1 hand. Miriam Borden. 0. Wayne Buller. 1. Lisa Burgess. 0. Lois Burrows. 0. Corrine Covert. 0. Maureen Croft. 0. Ivan Dabek. 0. Blaise Dupuis. 0. Alma Farray. 0. Lindsay Foster. 0. Robert Godkin. 1. 2. Cameron Gunn. 0. Michael Hobbs. Oh dear, we've lost Councillor Neal again.
I wonder where he's calling from. His been really good the last 18 months.
No, he's back.
Councillor Neal,
Yeah,
did you change your internet provider or something?
I just, Zoom just asked me, do I want to do a 2-minute refresher, which I did. Again.
Maybe they got a new version.
Did we, my
We st-
second choice, if I was offline at the time.
We stopped at Cameron Gunn, Councillor Neal. I
Oh,
didn't
okay,
continue anything. We waited for your technology to resolve itself.
Thank you.
Okay, I will
I'm going to go
proceed.
to my phone if it does it again,
Okay,
but I'm good.
fair enough. Michael Hobbs. Let's see, 0. Lisa Keelian. 0. Sandra Leslie. 0. Fong McNeil. 2. John Rose. 1. Eric Rutherford. 0. Jessica Seaton. 1. Ivan Stojkovic. 0. Debbie Watson. 0. Mohammed Youssef. Madam Chair, we have nobody in that round who received more than 2 votes. So there was nothing, no candidates with the majority.
And can you give us a revised list?
I certainly can. We have remaining I'll read out the names of individuals who at least received 1 vote, but not the names of those who received 0.
Perfect, but also the number. Could you do the number?
Yep.
Okay.
Mark Asperg, 1. Wayne Buller, 1.
Oh, sorry,
Robert
number of the person, just in case.
Oh. Okay, sure. So applicant 1, Mark Asperg. Applicant 3, Wayne Buller. Applicant number 12, Robert Godkin. Applicant 17, Fong McNeil. Applicant 18, John Rose. Applicant 20, Jessica Seaton.
Okay, so now we'll just have a bit of a discussion if anyone wants to speak to their choice or has changed their mind through the process. Go ahead. I'm going to start. I voted for Jessica Seaton, who has indicated number 3, that's Quindy is her third choice. I liked her application, but I think number 3 is too far down given that no one else was supporting her. So I'll be moving my vote to one of the remaining candidates. And if anyone else wants to go ahead. Councillor Hutchison.
Okay. I was unmuted, but didn't realize it. Don't listen. So anyway, I voted for number 12, Robert Godkin, who got 2 votes. And the reason is because he's been on the board and he's seeking a second term. I was the committee member that asked for more information. There really was no information other than the replying on the original. So, you have to assess that, I guess. But I think if the board chair and the CKFHC board wants someone to come back and they're willing to write a letter to say that, they must see value in this person. And he's 3 years in and he does have a window of 3 more years. So I thought, good enough. What we do have for him is as good as many of the others here. So, oops. I guess I'll stop with guidance from the chair.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, if you want to come back to it, I think I'm sure we'll see Councillor Neal again. But
I have one more,
yeah.
but
Go ahead.
obviously.
Yeah, if I could suggest that maybe we pause discussions until Councillor Neal gets back, so we're not conducting any business in his absence. This is a technological issue, so.
Yeah. That's good, thanks. Oh, there he is. Wow. He's like the fastest one to drop off and come back on I've ever seen in a Zoom meeting. Councillor Neal, you're back again. Okay, so Councillor Hutchison was just giving his rationale and we'll go back to him.
Right. So I gave the rationale for voting for Godkin. Basically experience, it's important to have continuity on a board. That's it. And usually when we do this, we look for that and specific abilities. This KFHC did look for specific abilities, but there's no one with any expertise in mental health on this list that I can see. If somebody else can, I'm willing to be persuaded otherwise. Maybe some experience, but not expertise. Okay. So my other one was 18, John Rose. He's a researcher at Queens. Has quite a bit of experience with tenant and labor issues. And I just thought he's had to deal with a number of different types of situations. He might be quite a good board member too. And it's, from the point of view of the tenant more than the corporation perhaps, but we've traditionally wanted to do that on this board. So they have a mix, right? So those are my reasons. I'm open, Fong, McNeil, I may be able to be persuaded to go there, okay? Because other than something of a written language problem, it's a fairly intriguing mix of abilities there. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Neal, I think you're next. Go ahead. You're on mute.
I got to make this quick before I'm kicked off again. I'm glad that you asked that question, Rob, and we got the information about the one that you're supporting. I know that I appreciate that he's been on the board. It really was a thin application. And in contrast with so many other applications that I find a little troublesome. John Rose was a strong candidate, and I'm quite happy to eventually support John Rose whenever one of mine drops off. Mark Asperg is a very interesting and very person-oriented app, and he works at Queen's as well, and he's, I think they said vice provo. So I think he'd be strong. I picked Huang McNeil because we need more diversity on our committees, and I thought that her application was strong as well. So that's where I'm at.
Thanks, Councillor Neal. Councillor Stanek, anything that, go ahead.
Thank you. Supported Robert Godkin for the reasons that Councillor Hutchinson said. They asked, for us to consider him. So there's no learning curve there. And as we know from everything in the news about Kingston Frontenac Housing Corporation recently, like they have some work to do. And so I just thought he would be up and running. And also the chair said how he was a very active member of the board when he was there. So we know that he would, actively participate in any subcommittee they have or in the meetings. So, but I do know, I don't know much about his background because his application was so thin, like Councillor Neal pointed out. I did have Fung McNeil as my shortlist, and but I also had John Rose on my shortlist too. I went with Wayne Buller, but I know there's only one vote, so I could probably switch to someone else, but he did seem to have a strong finance background, which I thought until just this afternoon they were looking for, but also he seems to be youngish, but really I don't know, but I think he seems to be youngish, right? And that's one of the things they were looking at, although not as young as Jessica Seaton. So, so that's sort of where it's at. For John Rose, I do like how he's got some background there working with tenants, and like even growing up, he says he grew up renting in a lower income family, so he would have that experience dealing with the board. So those are sort of my thoughts right now.
Super. Okay, thanks. I'll speak to a couple that were raised because I'll be moving some of my votes around, one anyway. So yeah, John Rose, I have similar thoughts on the not necessarily I mean, it's more of a broader tenant perspective as opposed to the KFHC tenant perspective, which of course is valuable, but we talked at the outset about the fact that the structure has changed as other organizations, similar organizations have done to incorporate tenant feedback in a different way. Yeah, okay, and also likely Fung McNeil. So it's looking like we're moving in the direction of at least selecting one this time. So I guess we'll go to a vote. If our deputy or clerk is ready, we're good to go. Okay. Okay, so this time around, again, we both have 2 votes. We all have 2 votes because we haven't selected anyone yet.
Try and remember to read out the candidate number before I read out the name. 1, Mark Asperg. See 0 hands. 3, Wayne Buller. 0. 12, Robert Godkin. 2. 17, Huang McNeil. 2. 18, John Rose. 4. 20, Jessica Seaton. 0. Those are all the names, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
And based on
Like we
that,
have, yeah,
so the remaining candidates were 12, Robert Godkin, who received 2 votes, Fong McNeil, who received 2 votes, and John Rose, who received 4 votes. So that would mean that John Rose is appointed.
so we have 1 appointed, that's great. And the other 2 are the only other 2 in the running, is that what you're saying?
That's correct. Number 12, Robert Godkin, and number 17, Fong McNeil.
Okay, so they both had 2 votes, so yeah, a tie there. If anyone wants to go ahead and speak to their rationale or any considerations, go ahead, or please let me know. Councillor Hutchison?
Let me just say, first of all, that we'll be thanking all the people that are here. Of course, the clerk will thank all the applicants. And this is not an easy decision by any means. And so with that in mind, I think these 2 candidates are quite close. So I'm just going to say I'm willing to be persuaded, okay? As I said before. I think generally my own inclination is experience should matter, right? And continuity on a board matters. We're going to appoint somebody new. We've already done that. And perhaps we should lean towards the experience. And the request of the board involved. So I'll leave it at that.
Anyone else? Oh, Councillor Neal, go ahead.
I thought Ms. McNeil had a very strong application, as Rob has recognized. I really do think we need to consciously try to get more diversity on our committees. And so I'm going to stick with that as that person as my vote. So.
Councillor Oksana?
So even though I strongly believe in the learning curve and trying to get on the ground running as quickly as possible, and they have felt like they do have someone on the board now with a lot of finance experience, so too does Fong McNeil. And so maybe too with all of the acquisitions and the maintenance that's needed in the units, at least what the press is saying, the maintenance that's needed, it does come down to finances and her strong accounting background, because she is a business owner, and the software that she has developed for accounting could really help that other board member who has that strong finance experience. And, you know, she would definitely be an asset anyways, regardless. So I can be persuaded then to support Ms. McNeil. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so I'm also going to indicate my rationale. I'll be supporting Ms. McNeil. The application is stronger, frankly, and also she indicated that a connection between the benefits of social housing, community partnership with tenants, staff, and public community groups, etc. So it does seem as though, I mean, despite not having the experience that Mr. Duncan has of the actual organization, that there's a real understanding there of what the role of this organization is and what we would like it to be. So I'll be supporting her as well. Okay. Should we go to a vote? Okay. Madam Clerk.
Okay, candidate 12, Robert Godkin. 0. Candidate candidate 17, Fong McNeil. 4. Fong McNeil is appointed.
Excellent, thanks. Great. Well, it's lovely to have a second choice and a close race be unanimous. So thanks to everyone for your deliberation there. We'll continue on the agenda. The next item of business. 1 second. Sorry. Too many screens, too many identities, too many things. Okay, Municipal Accessibility Advisory Committee. We're looking for one appointment there, and the applications for that begin on page 62.
Pardon me, Madam Chair, if I may.
Yep.
I just wanted to point out that candidate 12 in the list of applicants for the Accessibility Advisory Committee is Fwong McNeil, who was just appointed to the Housing Corporation.
Okay, excellent.
I also, if you would indulge me for a second, just wanted to make an announcement that if Councillor Neal has any further technological issues, or if he manages to share those with anybody else on the committee tonight, maybe what we'll do is we'll take a recess until we're able to reach out to whoever's having the technological issue, just so that if anybody's watching at home, they understand what process we're going to follow in case that happens again.
Great. Okay.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Okay. So we have 15 applicants in this for this position, this committee. Some applicants are similar to the same as the ones that we've reviewed previously for the other committee, but as was mentioned, Fung McNeil has been selected. So and also this was their third choice. I guess we can just handle this the same way if everyone's okay with that, given that we've already kind of established a process here of just going through and getting an initial short list, but we'll have a round of discussion first just on any issues related to the position or anyone's choice. So anyone want to go first there? Councillor Neal?
Okay, it seems he's frozen again, so we'll just like I mentioned earlier, we'll just take a procedural recess and we'll reach out to the counselor and see if we can help him get the connection issue sorted out.
Did we say 5 minutes or 2? How long?
He's been pretty quick, so why don't we start with 2?
Sure.
And if we have to extend it to 5, we can do that.
Okay. All right. So we can just hang out here, or we can leave the room like I do and come back.
We'll do emails. We'll do emails. Not about the committee. Just in general.
There you go. So you're,
Thank you very much. I think IT, has corrected my problem. And I
we
think
may
I
have to
owe,
check the VPN connection.
I just wanted to let Councillor Neal know he was on mute, and I'm not sure if he's talking to the committee or IT right now.
We muted him, Councillor Holland, because I believe he was talking to his tech
Okay, okay.
support, so.
Okay, just let me know when we're ready. Thanks.
I picked Dinah Cotter.
Okay, one sec. Okay, just make sure that everybody was ready to go there, Jim. So your text good?
I think so.
Okay, great.
But
All right,
I
so
wanna-
we're,
I want to rush through this before you lose me again.
okay. Well, just so everyone knows what we're doing, we are now back and we're considering the applicants for the Municipal Accessible Advisory Committee. There's one position and we'll go through and do a vote, but the first thing we're doing is having a discussion about our rationale or our choices. Go ahead, Councillor Neal.
So Dinah Cotter has sent emails frequently, very recently, concerning, and she has physical challenges, and she's pointed out where we've done the Love Kingston things downtown that have made certain things inaccessible. I've sent that to Contact Us, and so they're working to resolve that at this time. But she has been really active in the community and that. So I'm on that committee, and I think she'd be a strong candidate. So
Thanks, Councillor Neal. Anyone else? Councillor Hutchison? There you go.
Sometimes you can't, okay, good. Sometimes you can't do it the other way for some reason. Anyway, we have one, and I have two, so divide by two when you hear me. The first one is Maxine Bridges is number 4. The reason I leaned towards her was she's a retired ED of housing with the mental health aspect to it. And I wish she had applied to Kingston Frontline Housing, but she didn't. So it certainly wasn't her number 1. And this is her number 1 choice anyway, the Municipal Accessibility Advisory Committee. She's been on a number of boards, including a social planning council, and so there's a lot of experience there. And so that is, I'm just going to pause for a second here while so I think that's good to get a person like that into the system. Maybe we should apply for a housing corporation if they need that next time. I don't know. And let's see what else. And my second consideration, and I'm open to other suggestions too, I recognize that, is Chantal Buzinski, and she is a retired Navy officer, and is experienced with that, intelligence analyst, and a strong interest in art, which I think is good for a board member to have broad interests. And when you get down to the thing is she has a disability related to our military. She's a medically released veteran, which is connected to PTSD, which I think we'll agree is a disability. And she has a lot of personal experience with one of her parents and one of her stepdaughters. So I think this person brings a broad experience to this possibility here. So I'm open to others, of course, but the 4 and 5 are the two I thought were the strongest. So leave it at that.
Thank you, Councillor Osanek.
Thank you. I had number 5 as my first choice too, Shantae Businski, just because of the experience she has herself, her parent, and her daughter. So she has experience all the way around, right from growing up. And that's her number 1 choice. But I also had Maxine Bridges as on my short list. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so I'll do my short, well, actually I have a short list of 3, which overlap. So Dinah Cotter was on mine, as well as Maxine and Bridges, I guess. I don't have the list. And also I had Mercedes, and I can't get her last name here, Augustine. And so I guess she's the only one who hasn't been discussed yet. And what I liked about her application is the fact that there's like some long time advocacy work going on here. She's been very involved with epilepsy, charitable work, and the United Way, of course, here in Kingston. She's a person with a disability. I think and also just thinking about the composition. I haven't been on the accessibility committee for a long time, but I was on it for a while, and and I definitely follow it and understand the importance of it. And I think it's important to have different perspectives on that committee, of all the committees that we have. I mean, that one seems to really benefit from people with experience with visible disabilities versus invisible. There are all kinds of stigmas and all kinds of implications, and even new disabilities that are not mainstream or widely accepted, things like communication disorders and all of that. So, and of course we all know about the prevalence of mental illness and the difficulty in addressing that particular issue in the community. So I think that this application brings some experience, both volunteer and lived experience, that would benefit the committee. But for the most part, my focus is on ensuring that there's representation of a broad range of lived experience with disability. So that will be the final candidate I choose, and I'll continue to learn from some of the other ones that were mentioned. Okay, so we will go to a vote on this one then, if that's okay. Madam Clerk?
Okay, shall I proceed now?
Sure.
Okay, number 1, Mark Asperg. Seeing none. Number 2, Mercedes Augustine. See none. Number 3, Nicholas Batchin. See 0. Number 4, Maxine Bridges. See 0. Number 5, Shantae Buchinski.
That was 1, sorry.
That was 1, apology, yeah. Councillor Neal. That was 1 for Maxine Bridges. Number 5, Shantae Buchinski. 1. 6, Dinah Cotter. 2. Would you like me to read through the rest of the names, Madam Chair? Each member had 1 vote, and we've received 4 votes.
So we all had voted.
You've all voted.
Okay. Yeah, no, then no need, I guess. So we'll just go back and review that list, if that's okay.
Certainly. So the individuals receiving votes in round number 1 were candidate 4, Maxine Bridges, with 1. Candidate 5, Shantae Buchinski, with 1. And candidate 6, Dinah Cotter, with 2.
Okay. So we don't have a majority, which means we'll review that final list with our votes, right? Okay. So does anyone want to speak to that list again? Now's the time. Councillor Hutchison.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, we've got three good candidates, so that's pretty obvious. I think Councillor Stanek and I have to agree which one of 4 and 5 are going to. I stuck my hand up there to make sure that Maxine Bridges made the second round when things came to clarify. So I'm fine with either of those. I just think that from my point of view, 4 and 5 bring a lot of experience on boards, and that's useful on a committee. And I'm sure they would all add to the various experiences with disabilities on this committee. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Councillor Neal?
Thank you. I'm currently on MAC, and it's a great committee to sit on. And right now, it's I'm sorry, I'm reading my screen at the same time, losing my train of thought. It's really well represented now. So I don't think that we have any kind of gaps to fill. But again, I'm going to stick with Dinah Cotter because she's already a community activist and working on her own to try and address some of the problems. Particularly, we've done a lot of things, and I love Kingston, but we've done a lot of things that are kind of awkward if you're a person with a disability, because we've blocked off some of the ramps that are required, and that's the latest thing that Dinah Cotter has pointed out to us. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? Councillor Stanek?
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Councillor Neal, at MAC then, so did Ms. Cotter, like, she made delegations at MAC to point out the things that the city has accidentally blocked off? Like, is that the advocacy work she's done, where how you know her and whatnot? Like,
She's
written letters to MAC?
Yeah, she's sent letters to MAC. She sent recently a letter, I believe, an email to mayor and council, pointing, if I'm not mistaken, pointing out the specifics. I sent that to contact us. The city contacted her and asked her to outline the specific problems that she saw, and she's in the process of doing that now. So, but she's reached out to me, being on MAC, I think 3 times now in the last few months.
Okay, thank you. So I do see she's a board member at the Independent Living Center, Kingston. So, and she does have the ties with the North Kingston Community Health Center. Maybe she would be a good liaison between those two community groups, and then bringing that to the MAC table. So I can see how she'd be valuable on MAC. I can see that. Thank you.
All right, so I think we can go next to the vote. Ms. Jean, or Clerk, go ahead.
Certainly. Candidate 4, Maxine Bridges. I see 0. Candidate 5, Shantai Buczynski. I see 1. And candidate 6, Dinah Cotter. I see 3 hands. That means Dinah Cotter is appointed.
Thank you. All right, thank you, everybody. So we'll go back to our final item of business, which is the appointment to the Rural Advisory Committee. There's one position to be this evening, and that begins on, those applicants are available on page 102. Or it's 112, getting there. Okay, it's 102. And there are 4 applicants. And I suppose with the following the same process as before, since there's only 4 and there's one position, we will just open it up first, and then we'll read through and establish our votes, or a vote of 1. So does anyone have anything they want to say in regards to the applicants for Rural Advisory Committee? Councillor Hutchison?
As much because somebody has to say something. Perhaps I think it's, I was divided about this, but I think it's hard to beat the experience of number 4, Robert Wolf, who has been on the Rural Advisory Committee before, was there when it was amalgamation was taking place, and obviously very aware of the complexities of rural representation within the city governance system. And so I think that makes him, and he was chair for quite a while of the Glen Burnie Residents Association. So that's quite a lot to have going for you, in my opinion. I did think that number 2, Cameron Gunn, who's an occasional teacher and a carpenter, and they both, these people live in Glen Burnie, so they qualify. Was worth a look as well. So I'm more than willing to hear from others.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, Councillor Sanik.
Thank you. Since Robert Wolf has been on Rural Advisory Committee for so many years, 2011 to 2018, that's kind of why I'm leaning not towards him, because he's been there so many years, and now we have 3 new people that want to join it. I know that we had talked about Andrew Duncan a lot back in June, because I think he was definitely on the short list for the Heritage Committee, but I'm just looking at the Heritage Committee and I don't see his name. So I guess he didn't make it on the Heritage Committee as like the final person that we would have picked back in June, or maybe it was the May meeting. It was one of the meetings that I've been at. I've only been on this committee since May or June. My preference was going towards Douglas Perkins, just because of his resume and you know, his corporate experience in mining, and you know, those are all very rural settings. So those are just my initial thoughts.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Neal?
I was leaning towards Mr. Wolf just because it's the risk of his being the only familiar name to me when I was going over everything. This is always a difficult committee for me because, you know, most of us are urban. the rural committee, our representatives aren't on this committee to give us any kind of guidance. Perhaps in future, and I'll pass this on to Janet, perhaps in future we can invite either Gary or Ryan to sit in on these appointments and give us a little bit of input on those, or encourage them to join the committee. So, so I'm going to listen to the other votes. Councillor Sanik has given me pause about, Mr. Wolf has been a great member in the past, but he has been on the committee off and on for some time. So what I'm saying is, I don't know how I'm going to vote. Thank you.
Okay, I think that leaves it to me for the next, okay. All right, so everyone else has spoken, so okay. It is a difficult vote. I mean, I'll give you my top two, and the top two are Robert Wolf and Cameron Gunn. And I think some of the reasons have already been mentioned regarding experience and the need for a new perspective. They also both ranked it as their number one choice. So for that reason, they're my top two. And then when I think about what the committee needs, I'm a bit at a loss, as Councillor Neal mentioned. When I think about my assessment here, it's I did not declare conflict on this because it's hard sometimes. Robert Wolf was my professor in policy studies at Queen's about 20 years ago. So I don't think that really counts as a conflict. However, and I believe he's retired. However, given that I am still working in the field and at Queen's, and I mean, his evaluation, it's a weird situation because it would be, he would have an evaluation of me as a scholar in that field, and I'm evaluating this application, is kind of what I'm saying. And this is for someone who's building their career that has some influence. I guess what I'm saying is there is no pecuniary interest, but if someone who has established themselves in a field that you're studying and where you're trying to build your reputation, it does sometimes matter a little bit. So what I know of Robert Wolf is as an instructor and someone who taught public policy and actually kind of diplomacy, taught governance, and taught me a lot of what I know actually about policy and how government functions. So I don't have any experience with him on that committee, but I would say based on my knowledge of him, he seems like he would be a very effective person in a role with, like, working with the city to develop policy, and also would know how to navigate dynamics in a group, because I know of him doing that, managing discussion and debates and things like that. So certainly I give a wholehearted endorsement to Robert Wolf based on what I know of him. But I think it's a discounted one because again, I don't feel this is something that warrants a conflict, but I'm speaking to it. So obviously I feel like there is a conflict in my own mind there. So yes, go ahead, Madam Clerk.
I just thought I would offer, because I do recognize that none of the members on nominations are also members on Rural Advisory Committee. So just a bit of background with that committee. It is made up of two members of council, so Councillors Osterhoff and Boehm. Their requirements are that there are members of the public who represent the rural residential community, the rural agricultural community, and the rural business community. And so the member we're seeking tonight is to represent a vacancy in the rural residential component. So the four individuals all fit that criteria. Just as background for the committee, you know, in a previous iteration of nominations. It was staff was directed to go back out and do further recruitment because they felt that the roster of applicants was not diverse enough in that it was the same individuals applying over and over again. And that was Rural Advisory Committee is appointed for the term of council. So that would have been in early 2019 when this committee was put together. And so the majority of the members on the committee at this time have been appointed since the start of this term of council. And like I say, there was actually a deferral of appointments to the committee to have staff go out and do more recruitment to make sure that there was, new blood and changeover on the committee to ensure voices from across the representation. If that is of help to you as you make your decision.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Okay. So we can go to a vote now. Does anyone have anything further though? We can also just entertain any further thoughts before the vote. Councillor Rosanna, go ahead.
Hearing what Clerk James just told us, that's really helpful. That's really helpful. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. All right, so we'll go through the 4 names then and 1 vote each.
Okay, candidate 1, Andrew Duncan. C0. Candidate 2, Cameron Gunn. C2. Candidate 3, Douglas Perkins. C0. Candidate 4, Robert Wolf. See 2 hands. Madam Chair, we have a tie. There were 2 votes received for Cameron Gunn, 2 votes received for Robert Wolf.
Okay, so I think given what I said at the outset, I'll take other comments as well, but I will be changing my vote based on what I said, based on my initial remarks, since I was pretty much on the fence to begin with. Okay, Councillor Hutchison.
Okay, the host is, can you hear me? Okay, I have a sign that says the host is not allowing participants to unmute themselves. Okay, fine, they were before. Anyway, like I'm willing to move, like I'm persuaded by some of the arguments made before. So I'm willing to change my vote as well. So if Councillor Cullen will just tell me which way she's going, and other people are more or less the same, this will all work out in about a minute here. Okay, I think. At least that's my attitude. I believe that I think number 4, Wolf, is quite good, obviously, and has something to offer. But clearly, I remember what the clerk was talking about, how we needed to refresh that committee at a certain point. And so perhaps we could continue to do that if everyone else is of the same mind. Thank you.
Councillor Rosanna?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I am totally of the same mind after hearing what Madam Clerk told us, because I did not know that they had gone out, again in 2019 to fill the committee with new names and new faces. So I'm sticking to my guns for Cameron Gunn.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Neal, did you have any wisdom here?
I'm willing to follow Councillor Osanik's lead, and so I'll be switching my support as well. Although I think Dr. Wolf has done a great job in the past, but having heard that it's time for fresh blood, I'm willing to change. Thank you. Okay,
thanks. So this is making it a little bit easier for me. And I think just overall, I think it's a better way to come to a decision. So thanks, everyone. We'll go to the vote next, I believe, if we're ready. Okay. So we now have 2 names and we have 1 vote each.
That's correct. Okay, candidate number 2, Cameron Gunn. I see 4 hands. There's no need to continue. Cameron Gunn is appointed to the Rural Advisory Committee.
Thanks, Madam Clerk. Now, quick question, I think, because people are probably wondering, and I think this was asked before, but what type of, for members of the committee, for members who have applied for reappointment and haven't received it, are they recognized as an outgoing member of their board or organization, or is there anything that happens at the clerk's office?
Yes, anybody who has applied for a committee will receive communication from the clerk's department to confirm either their appointment or to thank them for their application, to indicate that at this time they have not been appointed, but that their application will be kept on file for 12 months in accordance with the procedures set out in the committee bylaw with regards to recruitment. That of course won't happen until after council has confirmed the appointments from tonight, because nothing's final until it's approved by council. So that won't be until later.
Great. Yeah. Great. Thank you. Okay, so we have confirmed all 3 of our. Do we need another finalizing motion for that? Or we've done it as.
Yes, if we could have an overarching motion just to confirm those appointments, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Can I have someone move support of the, thank you, Councillor Hutchison and secondly, Councillor Osanek, that we affirm our commitment to the votes that were to the successful candidates for the various committees this evening, committees and boards. Okay, and then we have no motions, no other, oh wait, so we have that motion. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We have no notices of motion. Any other business? No? Okay. So there is some correspondence from the chair of the Kingston Housing Corporation. Date of our next meeting will be determined. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Councillor Hutchison, second by Councillor Neal. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Hey, everyone.